Hello, I'm Susan Guthrie from Divorce in a Better Way and the creator and host of the Divorce and Beyond podcast. And this is another installment in my Divorce Frequently Asked Questions series. And today's question is, what's the difference between a legal separation and a divorce? And I get this one, and divorce attorneys, we get this one a lot. Because people think that there's a big difference, and there are differences, but very often people misunderstand what the differences are. So let's talk about a legal separation versus a divorce. They are essentially the same thing. You go through the exact same process that you would go through to get a divorce when you go through a legal separation process. You file the complaint, you negotiate the terms of your settlement, which includes both your finances and your custodial issues around your children's support, all of that. But at the end of the process, you are issued a judgment that says you are legally separated. Basically, what that means is that this couple is still married in name, but they've effectuated a judgment, a separation agreement that divides everything between the two of them and sets out certain terms under which they're going to live. You cannot remarry if you are legally separated. If you are divorced, you are free to remarry. That's one of the biggest differences. The legal separation is a process. So one of the big misunderstandings is many people think that when they file for divorce and start living separately, or if they just live separately, whether a divorce has been filed, they think that means they're legally separated. It just means you're separated. It does not mean that a legal process has determined that you're legally separated. So a big, huge difference between the two. When you have a legal separation in place, keep in mind, you now have a judgment that sets out if somebody's supposed to pay support, if somebody receives ownership of an asset, who's responsible to pay certain things. So that's all taken care of in a legal separation and in a divorce judgment. Now, there are certain reasons why people prefer a legal separation. Originally, that was mainly because people may have had religious reasons why they did not want to get divorced, but they no longer wanted to live together and proceed in a, real relationship, a legal relationship. So legal separation was created to make sure that things were handled and understood and organized and ordered, but not legally divorced. More often these days, you see it for a couple of reasons. The first reason is in some cases, and this is a loophole that is getting closed, but in some cases, it allows the dependent spouse or a spouse to remain on their spouse's health insurance policy as a spouse, as a family member. And for someone who has a pre-existing health condition or severe health issues, or just can't get their own health insurance, or health insurance is too expensive for them, this can be a big benefit. It's hard in this world to go forward without health insurance, right? There's also a loophole in the Social Security laws that allows a spouse to stay on as accruing toward the 10-year time limit requirement in order to then claim benefits under your spouse. So very briefly, essentially what that means is if you are married for 10 years or more, when it comes time for you to claim your Social Security benefits, if you have been a spouse who's not been regularly paying in because you were a stay-at-home mom or father, or for whatever reason, and it was your spouse who was really regularly paying into Social Security, then you can make an election against their time and their payment into Social Security. It does not reduce their benefits, but allows you an increased benefit. And that's a complicated topic that I'm not going to cover here, but If you're legally separated, you continue to accrue toward those 10 years. So if you're at 9 years or 8 years, some people will go ahead and get legally separated in order to then hit that 10-year mark. Now, one thing to understand about a legal separation is most states have a process where that legal separation can be converted, that's the legal term, into a divorce or a dissolution of marriage. And they make it relatively simple. And often it can be done by just one of the parties without the consent or participation of the other party. So what does that mean? It means if you go through a legal separation process and then one of you wants to remarry or no longer wants to be even tied by legal separation to the other person, or wants to end that legal status, it is something where you file a certain type of pleading asking that it be converted. And if the other party does not object, or if they have the ability to object, they don't object. And within a certain period of time, the court will grant it. In some states, it's just a rubber stamp. Like if you ask, the court will rubber stamp it. And yes, you will now be divorced, not legally separated. The terms of your agreement or judgment usually will stay in place unless there are triggers in there about what happens if this is converted to a divorce. So overall, a legal separation and a divorce are not that different. They are legal processes that you need to go through in order to alter the legal status of married. So I hope that helps you. We have a lot more information on both the Divorce in a Better Way website, and check out the podcast because I have almost 100 episodes on there from some of the leading experts in the world on divorce and all topics related to divorce. So you can find the website for the podcast on divorceandbeyondpod.com or listen to it on all your favorite podcast outlets. See you soon.